corner of my living room. I hope this light behind me isn't a weird thing. I hope it's a good thing in terms of lighting. And it's good to be back. I did take a couple of weeks break, and I'll tell you why. I started this channel just a few months ago. I can't remember if it was April, I think. So it's been, I don't know, 4 months. And man, starting a project like this is so weird mentally. You definitely have to kind of like fight that, that battle of like, am I good enough? Do people like me? Is this worth it? What am I doing? And I fight that battle almost every day on this little YouTube journey. I don't know. I get in my own head a lot, and I need to just like calm down, I guess. Sorry, I'm fixing my hair. It looked weird. Anyway, let's see. So I feel like it's been a while since we talked, but that's okay. I took a little break. I was like, you know what? I need to just get out of my own head and just see if I want to keep doing this thing. So I stopped filming, I stopped everything, and I kind of loved it. I was like, wow, I can just cook by myself, or still with my kids around, but like I can cook like without kind of worrying like who's watching and what they're thinking, or like, is anybody gonna watch or care? And I was like, this is really nice. I think I want to give the whole thing up. So I really thought I was going in that direction. And then I was like, you know what? I think I just need to change some things about the kind of what is the word for like the direction, or like the, not momentum. Anyway, I don't know, I can't think. But I would just kind of like change direction. I kind of modified a few things about what I was doing to make this project something, kind of like bring it back to what I wanted it to be from the beginning, and specifically what I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be this like focus on social media where it's all about like who likes it, who likes me, how many subscribers do I have, like how many people are viewing. And even though I guess in the long run that kind of stuff is important if I want to turn this into like an actual thing, but it can really get into your head and can kind of hinder you from doing what you love, or love what you're doing, because you're focusing on the wrong thing. So I kind of just set some boundaries for myself in terms of when I'm allowed to check YouTube to see what's going on and like how my videos are being received and all those kinds of things. And it's working out so much better, because I found that I actually really like doing this, as long as I don't get in my own way and start, worrying about the things that really don't matter right now. So anyway, with all of that said, it's good to be back, and I have the subject of school time, back to school time, to talk about today. And I have so many thoughts and so little time. So I try to keep these like around a half hour. Usually it's a little bit longer, but. So just to give you a little bit more background about me and our school situation, I'm not your average YouTube mom, because I feel like most moms in my genre, or like most moms that like cook on camera or like show family videos and stuff, I feel like most of them are homeschool moms, and I am not. I probably would be if I didn't have our wonderful school. It's called Dayspring Academy, and it's in, I live right outside of Tampa, in a town called Newport Richey. And so the school is, I don't want to say close by, but it's kind of in the same town, or like the town next to us. It's kind of a little bit of a commute. It's a little bit further away than we used to be when we lived closer to the school. Anyway, that's a whole thing. But I'm so thankful for the school. I actually worked there. I taught there for 6 years as a middle school teacher. And then I quit when I had my children. And then when it was time to send my kids to school, of course, not even when it was time, it was like before it was time, like before I ever had kids, probably before I was even married, I was like, when I have children, they're coming to this school. It's just such a great school. So we're really thankful for that school. And so just going from summer into the school year, here are my thoughts. And I don't know how you guys handled everything. I wish I could be the mom who was like, oh, I just didn't want summer to end because I just got to spend 24/7 with my kids, and I just wish that there were more hours in the day that I could spend with them. I'm sorry, I'm just not that mom. I love being with my kids certain times. I really love my kids so much. If you know me, you know I love my kids. So I'm not gonna like try to prove to you that I like them. But I am also a human being that can't function if I'm around fighting and constant noise and energy and activity all hours of the day without a break, like that kind of thing. So it starts to wear. And you do all the kind of like summer survival things. I planned activities and we did all the things. But when it was time to get ready for back to school, I was like, yes, it's on the horizon. Like, I can't wait. And this year is especially huge for us because this is the first year, I think, ever since my kids started school. Or, I mean, the first year ever, like in my life of having kids for 9 years, where 3 out of the 4 of my kids go to a building all day. And the wonderful teachers and staff members take care of them. And I can pick them up at the end of the day. It's really awesome. Now, I still have Camden at home with me. He's napping right now. He's 2.5. And I have 2 more years this year and all of next year. He's home with me, and then he'll go to VPK for a 3-hour day. So it's just been having kids close together. My first 2 kids are 15 months apart, then it's 2 years apart, and then 3 years. So they're all really close together. I just feel like I've been dripping with children for 9 years because by the time Jana was 7 months old, we were pregnant with Skylar, and it was just like I couldn't catch my breath. And then, not to mention, we fostered for a few years as well. So like last year we had 6 kids, not 4 kids. And then before I had Camden, we had 5 kids instead of 3 kids. Then we took a break, had Camden. We went from 3 kids, biological, then to 5 kids. Then for a few months back down to 3 while I was pregnant, then had Camden, so we went to 4 kids. Then when Camden was a year old, we went to 6 kids. Then we went through a different journey of like, it's a whole other story. I'm definitely not gonna get into those details right now, but then, when our foster kids reunified, we went back to 4 kids, very short, then we went to 5 kids again, and then now we're back down to 4. Oh my gosh, it's like, I can't even think straight. So it's been a lot of years of a lot of children. So I guess maybe you can understand why I've just been a little bit like, hey, school's great, and I want to send my kids there and then see them later. And in all of these years, in the 9 years, I have never, ever had a day or a school year or whatever where I can send them all and actually have like a regular day where I do grown-up things for 6 hours or whatever. That's just not going to happen for a few more years. That's just my life, and that's okay because I get these little things that I appreciate. What was I going to say? So anyway, this year is very different because not only do I only have 1 child at home, but the drop-off and pickup situation is so much easier, I guess, than it ever has been. Now, we do live kind of far away, which is, we live like a good 25 minutes, 30 minutes with traffic from the school, so that's kind of a pain. But in our years before this year, where we were fostering and doing and just like having the kids like in VPK and stuff, we have had the craziest schedules. Like last year Andy was in VPK. So just with my own kids, I had 2 in the elementary school that were there for a full day. Then I had Andy at the VPK, which was a different building, and he was only there for 3 hours, and they were like different drop-off times and everything. And then, so I had, drop off the kids in the morning, drop them off at one school, drop Andy off at the other school, go home for like a few, like 2 hours or whatever, then pick up Andy. Side note, I had a friend who helped with that like halfway through the year, which was amazing. But then would have Andy, and then I'd have to go back and get the girls. All the while I have like a 1.5-year-old at home, and 1.5, 2-year-old at home, and then I'd have to pick up the girls, and then it was just like homework time, crazy time. But that was just when we had our kids. When we had our foster kids, the little girl went to a different school, and then the baby boy went to a daycare. So there were 4 different drop-offs. Am I remembering this correctly? Yes. There were 4 different drop-offs in the morning. 4 different buildings, 4 different drop-offs. It was total insanity. And 4 different like start times and everything. And then at that point, like my husband helped with like dropping off one of them or like half of them. I can't remember, but it was crazy. And then Andy had to be picked up in the middle of the day. And then the girls had to be picked up at the end of the day. And then I had to pick up the girls at the end of the day, and then I had to go to a school that was really far away. It was actually much closer to this house. So we did like opposites. And then I would take them home. I mean, it was just so exhausting. And then we'd pick up the baby from daycare and then have 6 kids at home. 6 kids at home doing homework and getting dinner ready and all that stuff. So that was last year. That was the beginning of last year. Then, gosh, I don't even want to share any about like when we had a teenager in the home. I'm just not ready. Sorry, it's not gonna be a part of this story right now. But we had a whole other thing going on, high school, blah blah blah. That was for a few months. All that to say, this year is so much easier. Almost to the point where I actually feel kind of guilty. And I'll go into that in a second. But I want to share that it's kind of funny because now that this year is a little bit easier, but I still have Camden with me all day. And sometimes I get the question, like, I think people are excited that like things have just kind of eased up for me a little bit. But they'll ask a question like, what are you going to do all day? And I'm like, well, I still have a 2.5-year-old. And if you've ever met a 2.5-year-old, specifically my 2.5-year-old, you would know that I'm not going to be able to do much during the day. I mean, everything, when you have a toddler in the house, pretty much everything you do revolves around that toddler. And yes, there is nap time, but I've got I have a part-time job that I work mainly from home. I'm a worship leader for our church, so I do most of my work from home except for Sundays and that kind of thing. And then so I have that stuff that I'm trying to get done during his nap time. And then I've also recently started this YouTube journey. So I am doing like editing and filming and things like that, lots of planning. So I'm doing all of that. And then there are things that I just do with Camden, like clean up after him all the time, teach him how to clean up, and constantly making him snacks and filling up his milk. And the camera is pointed towards the cleanest part of my house right now to see how clean it is. Isn't that wonderful? I am not going to be turning that around anytime soon because you would see a whole other view. Hi, Mom. You would see a whole other view, and it is not as pretty as this like clean wall. Speaking of clean walls, I want to upload a short later. I just discovered this really cool cleaning hack to clean your walls. Side note, it'll be up on the channel later. So clean walls behind me that haven't been touched by fingers. I've, not toys and snacks and everything everywhere. Speaking of which, also our dishwasher started leaking the other night. So now we don't have a dishwasher, and I have like a bunch of dish strainers on my counter behind the camera that I'm just like, I don't even have an appointment to get the dishwasher looked at until next week. So I'm without a dishwasher for a week. And this is the second brand new dishwasher that we've had installed since we moved into the house this past December. So I don't know why, out of all of my life and all the dishwashers I've had in my life, these 2 are the only ones that have ever leaked, and it's really annoying. So hopefully that will get fixed. But yeah, it's not a pretty sight behind me. So yeah, so my day is constantly cleaning, constantly just keeping up with my toddler. Like today, I am outside, we're playing, I'm kind of like, he's jumping around the trampoline, and I told my mom this earlier, but we have like a privacy fence, so he wants to like jump in the kiddie pool and like bring the hose on the trampoline. Yeah, go for it. And instead of getting your clothes wet, let's just strip you down totally naked. It's easier than putting a bathing suit on him, and it's like the cutest thing ever to see his little butt jumping on the trampoline. and having the time of his life. And then I'm like editing a little short on YouTube. I'm sitting in the chair in the shade. I'm just like enjoying the morning. And then I see him kind of like get into this position in the corner of the yard. And I'm like, yeah, he's pooping. Pooped right in the yard. And I'm like a puppy. Yeah. So like every good puppy owner, I had to go get a plastic bag and put the bag over my hand and scoop the poop. And then, yeah. So we don't have a dog, but my son poops like one. So we did that. So if anybody wants to know like, oh, wow, 3/4 of your kids are in school now. What do you do all day? That. And this right here. So yeah. So it's funny because like I got nothing done over the summer, like nothing. And that was crazy. And so I was like, yeah, school's starting. So I'm going to have all of this time. Like even me, like I'm like, Camden's a little bit older. So even though I'll be doing stuff with him, like he's kind of like, he hangs with me instead of me like constantly entertaining him all day. So I'm like, I'm going to get stuff done. And I do, but I have this like personal chore chart for my like cleaning and stuff like that I haven't been able to touch or even look at this whole summer. And I was like, I'm gonna just like look at my Monday thing and get my things done. And this is the 4th day of school and I have not even, I've looked at the chore chart. I'm like, I'm gonna do that today. I'm gonna vacuum. And I have not even touched it. And yeah, so I still can't keep up and I'm doing things like constantly and I still can't keep up. So yeah, even having just like one kid at home. So all you moms who have one kid at home and think, oh man, I don't know how those other moms do it with a million kids. It's pretty much just as hard as with one kid as it is with a lot of kids. And that's coming from somebody who at any point in time had 6+ kids in her house around the clock. So yeah, it's difficult and hard to get things done any way you slice it when you're a mom. So what our schedule is like now that's kind of like the fantasy versus reality part of the thing that I wanted to talk about today, because like the fantasy is like, oh, your kids go to school and you're gonna have so much time, you'll be able to think straight. And there is that. There have been moments of like, wow, this is so nice. Like I feel guilty just because my schedule last year and in previous years were so hectic that I could not think straight. I couldn't function. And so now that I can function, like I can actually accomplish certain things and have a to-do list and kind of cross things off. The cleaning, not so much, but like my like little to-do lists and my little YouTube videos and things like that, like I'm actually able to kind of do. But what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. Oh, I actually like had like almost like guilty feelings. Like, should I be doing more? Do I, I don't know. It's really weird. So our schedule, just in terms of like surviving the school year, because we all know that sending your kids to school, it's not like sending them to camp where they come home and then you just chill and do whatever you want. It's like they come home with like 1,000 papers and mom, my teacher said I need this and I have this paper and this project, and then they have homework, and then you've got several different ages all have homework at the same time. I don't get home from like their school day doesn't end until 3:30. By the time I get through car loop and come home, it is and I also pick up my friend's son, the one who helped me out so much last year by picking Andy up from VPK. Now I'm helping her by driving her son, who's also in kindergarten, home from school. So I've got my car is the noisiest car in the universe when we are driving home from school, because it's 5 kids who have so much energy and noise that they want to get out, especially my son and his friend, who are just like absolutely like the noise level is out of control. And you would think like they spend all day together, like you'd think like they would just like sit in the car and chill, but they act like they haven't seen each other in a year, and they're like telling the weirdest stories to each other. They were making up stories yesterday in the car, and they're in the back row of the minivan, and I'm hearing this story, and one of the lines of the story, now if this isn't the epitome of a 5-year-old kindergarten boy telling a story, one of the lines of the story was, and then the poop ate a poop so he could poop. So if that's not the most kindergarten boyish thing you've ever heard, I don't know what is. So those are the things that I get to listen to. That's kind of like my soundtrack when I pick up the kids. Then we get home, and we're not home until about 4:15. And then it's like, Andrew gets home around like 5:15, which is great. I'm glad he gets home so early, but I'm like trying to get dinner done, and then the homework comes out, and especially just adjusting to the new year. You like that, Mom, about the poop? Yeah, it's a good one. She's like a proud grandma right now. Yeah, so it's just like, and then Camden, who has been just with me all day and he enjoys it in a way, but he's also like, where are all my siblings? So they come home and he just wants to party with them. So it's like, he's trying to get their attention, positive attention, negative attention. He's like smacking them. He just wants to play with them, but I kind of need them to just sit and like have their snack and get out their homework. And so it is just total mayhem. One thing that is like a little survival tip is I've kind of simplified snack time a little bit. If you're interested in finding out what that is, I have a really short video. I think it's like 2 minutes. It's I think it's called Snack Hack that I made a couple of months ago at the end of the school year last year. And that's kind of how I simplified snack time that helps the kids be more independent with getting their after school snack, and they get to kind of choose what they want. So yeah, watch that video and you'll have a little snack hack for this new school year. And then I'm like trying to get dinner done. So it's really hard because I either have to do a dinner that is a quick dinner that I can do in less than an hour from start to finish, which, you know, there are plenty of those, but I also like to do dinners that like take a little more time. But I can't do a dinner that's like really cooking while I'm gone. So I need to do a dinner that I can like make ahead, and it's a whole thing. Like yesterday I made a zucchini lasagna, and I actually made a double batch because I made it for a friend whose husband is out of town for the week and she has 3 littles. So I brought one over to her. So I was like, I was literally sweating trying to throw this zucchini thing and layer it, and I did some like homemade bread and everything, and I am trying to get everything and cover hers and put it in a bag and drop it off at her house so I could get the kids on time. So yeah, and then mine was just like sitting on, it was like warm and sitting out on the counter, and then I popped it in the oven when we got home. It was really good. But anyway, I'll do a video on that one soon. Real quick note, one of the reasons I chose zucchini lasagna was because I didn't have to cook the noodles. It's like when you slice the zucchini, you just throw the zucchini on there. You don't have to worry about boiling noodles. And also it's really healthy. And then of course, on the unhealthy side, I made some garlic bread, and we did all the dipping of the bread in the sauce, and it was so good. My schedule that I do with Camden. So if you have toddlers, if you have little ones and you're trying to look for things to do with them during the day, one thing that I love to take advantage of is story time. So we are, I feel like I told you guys about this already, but we are situated in between 2 libraries. And so we do, I actually can go to a story time on Wednesday mornings and a story time on Friday mornings, which is really cool. And then, on Wednesdays, since Andrew works about 15 minutes from here, and he goes to youth group at night, straight from work. So I don't really get to see him much. I mean, I see him early in the morning and then later at night. And Camden is like all day, every day. Where's dad? Where's dad? I want to see dad. So what we do is, anybody who's not in school, we did this last year also with Andy, but anybody who is not, oh no, wait, did we do this with Andy? No, we didn't do this last year, because if you're in VBK, the pickup times are too tough, but we did it the year before that. So after story time on Wednesday, I either bring lunch or pick up lunch and go to Andrew's work, and we just sit in they have like a little lunch area of their little office, and we just sit for like 45 minutes and chat, and Camden gets to hang out and see dad, and that's just like a fun thing for me. And then like I usually treat it more like a dinner. Like Andrew and I kind of like do like a big thing, because he goes to youth group and he doesn't really eat dinner on Wednesday nights. And then on Wednesday nights when he's not there, I just make like a kid-friendly thing, and I just feed the kids, and I kind of fill myself up. And I mean fill myself up on like our Wednesday lunch, and then I usually have like a little dessert treat on Wednesday night after the kids go to bed. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. I don't know. But okay, something that we just started recently, which I could kick myself over and over for not thinking of this at the beginning of the summer. So Andrew he kind of skips lunch. He does this like little kind of like intermittent fasting, but it's more like, I don't know, it's a weird thing. He kind of just like skips lunch, but he has a 45-minute lunch break every day. And then at the end of the summer, I was just like, babe, like, I can't wait until school starts, because I can't keep taking 4 kids to Publix. Like, I can't. And he's like, well, would it be helpful if I like met you at Publix, and or if you like dropped the kids off like at Target or something with me for 45 minutes, and like you did your shop? And I was like, yeah, that would be really helpful. Why didn't we think of this earlier? So there was like maybe 1 or 2 Publix trips before school started, where I think it was only one, where Andrew on his lunch break met me at Target, because like where I go to grocery shop is like the halfway point between our house and his work. So it's like 5-7 minutes for each of us. And then I dropped the kids off with him at Target, took them around, and I also needed him to pick up like a school supply. So I was like, well, that's convenient. You get this, take the kids. You have 4 kids, haha. And then I went to Publix by myself, vacation. And that was amazing. But I'm like, why haven't we been doing this all summer? And also, if you know my husband and you know, if you do, like, you know, like he's a quality time guy, like him meeting us at Publix, like he loves to do that. Like I know like some husbands would be like, yeah, no, you do that. Like I'll see you when I get home from work. But he's like, yeah, I'll do that. That'd be fun. I don't know. He's funny. So we did that. And I'm like, babe, like, do you think we could do this? Like when I have to take Camden to Publix, not that he's pretty easy to go to Publix. I get him a cookie and then we do our shop. But it's just fun. So I go to Publix on Mondays and Thursdays. So now I just time it around, Andrew can pretty much take his lunch break whenever he wants to. So I time it around like 10:45, like right before Camden's nap time. And then Camden gets to see dad, which like that's all he wants to do all day. Where's dad? Where's dad? When's dad coming home? And then Andrew just comes to Publix with us, and he kind of like pushes the cart and hangs out with Camden, and I've got my grocery list on my phone, free hands, and I'm just buying everything. And it's like, because when I'm at the grocery store, I am like price checking everything. I've got my calculator out, and I am trying to compare, well, if I'm buying, because I buy like, if I'm gonna use like tomato sauce, like I buy like the high end, because I'm like, I'm not gonna buy like the cheap stuff, but I need to get one that's like, is a good deal or on sale. Like, okay, this one's on sale, but is it better? Is the better price better? So I am like literally like doing math on my calculator to try to find like the price per ounce and stuff like that. And then normally that's like with Camden going, I want another cookie or whatever. I want a cookie. And so that has been amazing. That is like our new, okay. The other reason why this year is so much easier than last year is last year I had to bring the kids to school because the reason was the school's far away again. And the reason was the reason why Andrew couldn't do it is because when Andy was in VPK, by the time I dropped off the girls at their building and then Andy at his time at the other building, but if Andrew were to do it, by the time he got back to work, he'd be late, so he couldn't do it. So I had to do the whole thing. It wouldn't make sense for both of us. It wouldn't make sense for him to drop off the girls and me to drop off Andy. It would be like slightly convenient, but more gas, and like it just doesn't make any sense it just didn't make any sense for both of us to do it. So I did it every day. So, and I would have Camden. So I'd have to leave the house at 7:50, 7:55, with all 4 kids, do the drop-offs, and then go to whatever Camden and I were doing, go to Publix, whatever we were doing that day. So that's when my day started. But this year, now that Andy is at the elementary school with the girls, he has, or they all have the same start time in the same building, and the drop-off just happens to be the perfect time so that Andrew can do it and then make it to work on time. So that means, you guys, that unlike every other year in my past, I am home in my pajamas and like saying goodbye to the kids. Bye, me and Camden. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's another reason I feel guilty. I'm like, am I supposed to be doing this? So I have one pickup. I don't have to drop off. I have one pickup compared to last year, 4 different buildings, like 18 different pickups and drop-offs and like that kind of thing. And then not to mention like the VPK pickup last year, and the daycare is like you have to go in, anybody that's with you have to bring them all with you, unbuckle, pack back up. Oh my gosh. And this year is like, you go in, you click the button to open your door, they bring your kids to the car, they go in and they come out. So it has been amazing on one hand because I'm a mom, like of course I feel guilty, like is this too easy? Should I be doing more? But what I should be really saying is, wow, thank you God for this rest. Thank you God for this year that I can actually like breathe and have a little bit of a break, because you know, who knows what'll happen in the next season. And you know, when Camden starts school in 2 years, he'll be at the VPK, the middle 2 will be at the elementary, and Jana will be in middle school. So I'll be back to 3 schools, 3 different times. Andrew will not be able to help, and that'll be that. So I'm just going to embrace these few years where I have that break. And our after school schedule. Oh, the other thing that we do now, we are we are a family that tries to avoid the like outside of the house extracurricular activities. Like, I know that sounds bad, but like sports and stuff, like we're musicians. So like, we're like, hey, let's do music lessons and things like that. The kids did do dance off and on. And last year at the end of the year, they really wanted to do it. So Jana, Skylar, and Andy did dance for a few months, and it was quite a cost. So we're like, okay, if you want to do this, like you got to stick with it, and you got to like be really dedicated. And then we even paid through the summer, and they kind of some of them more than the others were just kind of like, yeah, oh, we have dance. Like it used to be, when's dance? And then it was like, oh, we have dance tonight. Oh, I'm just kind of tired, and I'm like, we are not paying for you to go. Oh, we have dance tonight? Like, no. So towards the end of the summer, I was like, hey guys, if you want to do dance this year, we will continue doing it. But I need to know, do you really want to do dance? And they were like, maybe we'll take a break this year. And I was like, great, saves us a little money. And I don't want to deal with and saves a lot of money actually. And I don't want to deal with like dragging them when they don't want to go. So we're taking a break from that. What we do with the 3 older kids, Andy just started, is piano lessons. And we have this really great program. It's is online, and the lessons are actually free. But if you want to do like have access to the practice sessions, which are really important if you want to like actually move forward with the skill, it's called hoffmanacademy.com, and you can get, anyway, I'm saying like if you want to get like the whole package, they have like a monthly fee. You can pay monthly, you can pay for the year, and they do specials where you can actually get like a lifetime membership for like basically the cost of like 3 months of private lessons. So we love hoffmanacademy.com. If you are interested in having your kid take piano lessons, whether you have a piano or a keyboard in the house, not only do our kids not only do we not have to take our kids out of the house for them to have piano lessons, they can just do it right here, but it's also so much cheaper. So that's what we do as like their little extracurricular. We try to have them do it. We try to have them do like practice every single day. Mr. Hoffman always says only practice piano on the days that you eat. So we try to live by that rule. We don't always succeed, but we do it as much as we can. And then for bedtimes, we try to do the boys at around 7. And then the girls, so the boys who are 5 and 2, we do around 7. For the girls, we try to do 8 o'clock. Last night it was a little bit later. They were playing outside for a little bit. So we try to do like between 8 and 8:30 for the girls. They all get up around, well, Camden is waking up at 5 again. And then now Andy is waking up earlier because he's really excited about school. And then the girls kind of mosey down between 6:30 and 7. So all that said, they get up really early, so early bedtimes are really good. Oh, I really wanted to share some funny first day of school stories because who doesn't love a good, hectic first day of school story? So this year, 2 funny stories about Andy. Okay, so school lunches, okay? Because of COVID, the last 2 years, I think, were totally free for everybody. Am I a big fan of what they serve the kids for school lunch? Not really, but the kids liked it and it was fine. And it was free. So I was like, okay, if it's gonna be free, like, yeah, like eat the lunch. So I didn't really have to pack lunches. Like occasionally when my kids were like, I'm sick of this, or I don't wanna eat that or whatever, like I packed them a lunch. But for the most part, I'm like, that lunch is free. You're gonna get the school lunch. Then they announced that this year they are no longer free. So it's $3 for a school lunch. And that's pretty much what it costs me for each lunch that I make for the kids. And I'm thinking, if I'm gonna pay $3 either way, I'm gonna make it so that I know that it's like healthy and blah, blah, blah. So I'm making lunches every day. And so for Andy, I packed him. He actually used the same lunch box that he used last year for VPK. He just used it for a snack last year. But the lunchbox that came with his backpack this year ended up being really cheap. I got it on Amazon. He loved the backpack, but the lunchbox had no insulation. So I was like, okay, we're not using that. I was like, can we use your Monster Truck lunchbox from last year? It's really good, and I'll clean it out. And he's like, sure. So I was like, perfect. So So I was like, here's your lunch, buddy. This is like, and he's starting kindergarten, so he's got like all these things to remember. And if you know my son, he's very smart, but oh my gosh, is he like absent-minded sometimes. Like you have to tell him and remind things like 1,000. He's a little man, you have to tell him 1,000 times before he like really listens. And so I packed his whole lunch. I showed him everything that I packed, and I was like, this is your lunch, buddy. And then I also, they also have an afternoon snack. So I packed him some like Wheat Thins or something. And I was like, and here's your afternoon snack. I'm going to put it in this part of your lunch box. And so everything was all set, and I gave him the instructions and everything. And then I picked them up on the first day of school, and they get in the car, and the girls are like, Mom, Andy said he bought lunch today. And I'm like, what? Like, buddy, why'd you buy lunch? And he was like, I forgot. I thought, he's like, I didn't know I had lunch. And I'm like, I was so confused and so frustrated because I made him like a boar's head turkey and cheese sandwich, which like alone costs like $3 to give him, special first day of school thing, get the good stuff. And like his ice pack had already gone, thawed and everything. So I had to throw out the sandwich. I had to throw out everything, like his yogurt and everything from his lunchbox when he got home, because he didn't know that he had a lunch. And I'm like, and then like he ate some of it at the afternoon snack time at the end of the day in his classroom. It was so confusing. I'm like, and I'm thinking like, what'd you buy? Like, what money did you use to buy lunch? I still don't know. I think like there's an account, so I'm probably going to be charged something. I have no idea. But anyway, he bought lunch while I packed his lunch, and I was like, why did you do that? Like, I showed you your lunchbox. I was trying to be really, really nice about it. It was first day of school. I was like, okay, bud, well, next time. Okay. And then I talked to his teacher, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I got a message from the teacher that day that was like to all the parents, but it was like, please remember to pack your child a dry, in all caps, a dry snack for the afternoon. And I'm like, oh, well, that doesn't apply to me because I packed him Wheat Thins. Like, oh, all those like newbie moms, like they don't know what to pack. Like, that's fine. I packed him Wheat Thins. Like, I did it right. And then I look in his lunchbox and I'm like, oh, you ate the yogurt? And he was like, yeah, I had it for my afternoon snack. And I'm like, no, you're not supposed to eat. And they probably let him eat it because they probably thought it was the only thing he had. So I had to message his teacher and be like, hey, sorry about Andy eating a yogurt in the afternoon snack. I don't know why, but he didn't think he had lunch today. And can you remind him that he has a lunch box and tell him not to buy lunch during the day? And anyway, so then I realized, wait a second, that Monster Truck lunchbox, he was so used to getting only a snack in it for VPK last year. So this year, when I sent him with his full lunch, I think he saw that in his backpack and he was like, that's my snack. So he probably didn't even open it. And he probably told like the lunch person, I don't have any lunch. So they probably thought I was just some like loser parent who didn't pack their kid lunch. They're probably like, here, maybe somebody even paid for his lunch. I don't even know what happened. So anyway, now he knows that in his lunchbox, he has his lunch. And then another funny story from that first day of school is he was so excited to see his besties from VPK that he barely even said goodbye to me that morning when I dropped him off at his class. And I'm like crying, and he's like, see you, Mom. And he's just like hanging with his friends. And I'm like, Bud, can I have a hug? And I give him a hug, and then he's gone all day. And I was just like really struggling that first day. I was crying a little bit, and I was just feeling like so empty. Like I was so excited for the kids to go back to school. And then I'm like, now they're gone and I'm alone with Camden, but like it was weird. And so I was like, thinking of them all day, especially Andy. And when we got home from school, I was just chatting with him, and he was just like, he had this great day, and which is so good. But I'm like, Bud, did you miss me today? I'm like, did you think of me at all? And he was like, I totally forgot about you. And he was like giggling with like embarrassment. Oh, Mom, like, I'm sorry, I totally forgot. And I was like, okay. So on one hand, I'm like, okay, bye, son. I guess you're just like, you don't need me anymore. On the other hand, I'm like, well, isn't that great that he is at such a wonderful school with his friends that he doesn't need me. He still needs me, but he doesn't need me. He's actually so happy at school. So it was actually a really funny story and kind of a beautiful and sad story of I'm so thankful for that school. And another cute story is he has this adorable young teacher named Mrs. Hartman, and his birthday's coming up. And the other day I said to him, I was like, "Oh, Bud, I'm like, your birthday's coming up soon. I'm like, should we make invitations so that you could give them out to your friends in your class?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm going to invite Mrs. Hartman to my birthday party." It was so cute that she was the first person that he thought of. He wanted to invite her to her. And I had to like kind of explain, I'm like, teachers usually don't go to kids' birthday parties. And I'm like, but we can invite her. But just so you know, I don't think the teachers usually go. But that was so sweet. And okay, so I'll end with this funny, dramatic story about when Skylar was starting VPK. Oh, she's in third grade. So she's in third grade now. So a couple of years ago, and we had to do, okay, we were fostering at the time. So we had 5 kids. 2 of them went to daycare together. Andrew and I we did like this whole thing. It was our first year doing 3 different buildings. And so we had like everybody packed up and, wait. Yeah, we had 5 kids. Andy was still home with me. The 2 foster kids were at a daycare. Skylar was at the VPK and Jana was at elementary school. So we had 3 different drop-offs plus Andy being with me all day. Crazy. And so we packed up everything. I put these really cute shoes on Skylar. They were these like gold boots that she wore just one day before on Thanksgiving the year before. I thought they still fit her because they were really big on her for Thanksgiving the previous year. So I was like, oh, that'll be so cute with her little bell dress for her first day of school. She looked adorable in her little gold boots. And then we did the drop off for our foster kids. Then we did the drop off for Jana at the elementary school where we walked her in to her classroom. And because it was like the first day, we had to park like, a whole block away. And then we had to walk from like down the block all the way to the elementary school, all the way to the back to the classrooms. And it was hot, we were sweating, and Skylar, she's 4 years old and she's walking to school. And like, as we are like getting to Jana's classroom, she starts complaining that her feet hurt. And I'm like, oh no. So we drop Jana off and Andrew is carrying her back to the car. Now, if you know my Sky, she's so hard to describe. She's like the sweetest, most wonderful child, but so emotional and like can just like, I guess she gets very like overstimulated with emotions when like something's new or something hurts or anything. It's like kind of like the sky is falling. So the sky is falling. So Andrew's carrying her back and I could just see that this next drop off was not going to go well. So her shoes were bothering her, her feet were hurting and she was wearing socks and everything, but like something, I guess they were like blistering already. So but I kind of thought she was just kind of like making it up because she was like nervous about school. She's such a homebody. She just wants to be with me all the time. So I was like, oh, maybe she just doesn't want to go to school. So I was like, okay. I was like, Sky, can we just bring you to school and then I will go home? Because I wanted her to get there on time. I was like, can we just bring you to school and then I will go home, get you a new pair of shoes and everything will be fine. Can we just bring you there? And she is crying in the car driving to VPK. And Andrew is in a separate car because he had to go to work straight from there. So, and we're just like, what do we do? So we drive to the other school. We're sitting in the parking lot. She is hysterically crying. And Andrew and I are just sitting in the parking lot in 2 cars going, I guess we can't bring her to her class on time for the first day of VPK. And like, part of me just wants to be like, Skylar, just go inside and I will bring you shoes. I was like, honey, you can take them off. Can you just like go inside? So we can do this drop off when we do first day of school, like you're supposed to do with the pictures outside and everything and all your classmates and your teacher. Can we just do it like you're supposed to do it? No way. She was beside herself. So I was like, okay, we're going home. So Andrew went to work, couldn't see Skylar go to VPK. And Skylar and Andy, my little, he was only 1 at the time, came, or 2. About to turn 2. And he came, me and Skylar and Andy came home, or Skylar and Andy and I came home, and Skylar was just crying. So I just thought, oh, okay, let's change your shoes. And she couldn't. She was in such an emotional black hole that I couldn't get her out of it. And as much as I didn't want to be like, hey, on the first day of school, let's turn on the TV, she was hysterical all the way home at the house, freaking out. I don't want to go to school, blah, blah. This just turned into a whole thing. And I did see she had a little bit of redness on the back of her foot. So I could see her shoes actually were bothering her. We took them off, obviously. And I just put on a show for her. And I was like, let's just sit and relax and watch, Dora or whatever show it was. And we just sat and I just waited until she calmed down. And it took 30 minutes for her to just get into a place where she was calm again. And I wasn't sure if she would make it to school that day, but miraculously, she had calmed herself so much. And I said, Sky, can we put on this really comfortable pair of socks and this really comfortable pair of shoes? And can we try to go back to school? And she did with her little, puffy eyes and her red cheeks from crying. We brought her to school and I did her first day of school drop off, and her school and her teachers were so understanding. And then I left with Andy and we came home, and maybe an hour later, it was time to go pick her up because it was just VPK. So it was drop off, almost drop off, come home, try to calm her down, get new shoes on, drop off, come home. An hour later, go pick her up, come home. Andy down for a nap, Skylar for the afternoon, then go pick up Jaina, and then a few hours later, go pick up the foster kids from daycare. That was our first day of school 4 years ago. So it's been a journey. Back to school is a crazy time. I don't know if there's anything else I wanted to share or talk about. I think that's pretty much it. But I would love to hear about any back to school tips you guys have. I know if my mom, I think my mom is still watching. She was a teacher for, Mom, how many years were you a teacher? 1,000? My mom was an elementary school teacher for 1,000 years while raising children. So she probably has back to school tips for both teachers and moms, especially teachers who are also moms. So I would love to hear from my mom and all of you guys. 28 years. She was an elementary school teacher for 28 years, you guys. I can't even imagine. And raised children at the same time, and that was insane. So I'm sure she has some good back to school stories. Oh my gosh, I just remembered. I wonder if she's thinking about this right now. I have one more back to school story that I totally forgot about. I'm gonna share it with you. This is going way later than I was planning on. I'm gonna share you one more back to school story. This is about me going back to school. When I started 6th grade, I grew up in a town where there were 3 elementary schools, and I almost spilled my tea. 3 elementary schools, cute little elementary schools, small. And then when you got to 6th grade and entered middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th, it was this big, huge 2-story middle school where all 3 elementary schools poured into one school. And then it was, of course, the first time we were changing classes for 8 periods a day. It was just, everything was different. And I guess, speaking of Skylar's resistance to change and getting over emotional, I'm gonna tell you a story now and you're gonna be like, well, that's where she gets it from. I can tell you a story where I was actually so much worse and I was older than her. So, so I went to middle school for the first time. And this actually wasn't my first day of school that this happened. I somehow got through day, my mom's like, I remember that. Okay, I got through day 1 and day 2. I'm pretty sure that my mental nervous breakdown happened on day 3. Somehow I survived day 1 and day 2, but I think it was building up the emotions. I had the most wonderful core teacher. Our core teachers in middle school were they taught us, I believe, math and language arts. So we saw them for 2 periods of the day, and then every other teacher we saw only 1. And she was Mrs. Sinclair. Oh my gosh. Seriously, one of the best teachers. And I've had some great teachers. Mrs. Sinclair was one of the best teachers I've ever had. She was a mommy, but she was also the crazy aunt. So she was that loving, warm hug of a mom, but also like the fun, crazy aunt that just made learning so much fun. So big shout out to Mrs. Sinclair, who also, when I was in high school, she, when I was in like 10th grade, they moved her, or she moved, I don't know, from the middle school to the high school, and then became my high school math teacher, which was, I think I had her for 2 years in high school, which was so much fun. How cool was that? Anyway, I loved my Mrs. Sinclair. But then my third day, I went to my social studies class, history, social studies, and that teacher, she wasn't my favorite. She was like, she was like the crotchety, like old neighbor. You know, where, you know, she was just like more like by the book, wasn't really fun, and just wasn't warm and fuzzy. So I just felt like not comfortable in her class. And I was the kind of student who, like, if the teacher gave us something that I had to fill out, or if we had a homework sheet or whatever, like, it was no question. I was getting it done, like I did my stuff, and I wanted to do everything right that I needed to do for my class. And on the third day of school, that teacher, who will not be named, she wasn't terrible. She wasn't Mrs. Sinclair. We got to social studies, and she said, all right, kids, take out your homework from last night. And every cell in my body just started panicking. And I'm thinking, we had a homework sheet last night. I'm like, I didn't do the homework sheet. I'm like, I totally forgot about the homework sheet. And I open up my folder, and there it is, a homework sheet in my folder, totally blank. And I'm panicking in my seat. Now, with my teaching experience, like the kids who just like didn't do homework, didn't care, like I was not one of those kids. Like they would just, no, I didn't do homework, whatever, I didn't do it. I'm like, I'm looking at this blank sheet, like, I can't survive this. I can't survive this. What do I do? So I think I made it through a class, and it totally, I was like white as a ghost, could not function. I just like, I was like in a coma, like trying to just get through the period. I think I told her that I didn't do it, and she probably said something like kind, like, okay, well, you know, you can do it tonight, or just follow along, you can fill it in. Probably something totally normal. Inside, I'm thinking, I am the worst person in the whole world, that I didn't do my homework, and I will never recover from this, and like, I can't go to school anymore. I'm a failure. So then I somehow made it through that period, and then switched to, the teacher somehow did not notice that I was like in a like panic coma. And I went to my next class, bell rang, went to my next class, back to Mrs. Sinclair. And she's trying to teach the class, and I don't know what I was doing, but I must have been sitting there in a panic-stricken coma, because I just remember that feeling, like I felt paralyzed. And so I was sitting at my desk, and Mrs. Sinclair, being the wonderful teacher, she noticed that there was like something not right with me. And she was like, she just stopped what she was doing, and she said, Colleen, are you okay? And I went, I'm just having a really bad day. And I just lost it. And she was like, okay. Like, and she had to teach her class, so she couldn't really like stop the class to be like, okay, what is it? Tell me all your problems. She was like, okay, honey, like, let's get you down to the nurse, and just like, well, they can help you, blah, blah, blah. So I go down to the nurse, and I'm like laying down on the nurse's bed. I can't do this. I demanded that they called my mom, or they probably just did it because they thought this kid is crazy. So they called my mom, who was teaching, and you know, back then in the 90s, they had to call my mom's classroom from the front office, have her come, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, mom, but they had to call her classroom while she was teaching her whatever grade she was teaching at the time, probably second grade. They had to call her from her classroom. She had to leave her classroom, get somebody to fill in her classroom, come down to the front office, talk to me, where I basically told her, you have to pick me up. I'm hysterical. You have to pick me up. I can't do this. I can't do this, whatever. My mom's like, you have to go back to school. Like, I can't leave school and come pick you up. And honestly, I can't remember what happened after that. I don't think I was picked up. I think I had to just like I basically was allowed to stay in the nurse's office as long as I needed to like recuperate and get my head back in the game. And then eventually I went back into class, and I was able to complete my middle school career. So a little bit of a success story. And okay, that I said that was going to be my last story, but I have one more. So this is really funny. So I actually would tell. Oh, and yes, I forgot about that. So not only was my mom teaching at the time, so couldn't just leave her class on the third day of school to come get me, just because I was having like a mental breakdown. She also worked 45 minutes away in a school district that was 45 minutes away from where we lived and where I went to school. So on top of that, it was so crazy. So that story that I just told you is the story that I would tell when I was a middle school teacher. I would tell my sixth graders every year on the first day of school because I didn't tell it the first year. I think it was the second year because I realized my kids, my sixth graders, needed to hear this story because there were a lot of sixth graders just like me that were just like filled with panic over everything before anything even went wrong their first week of school, and they were just like ticking time bombs waiting to go off. And so I remember there was one little girl named Jenny, and she was so cute, and she like I think it was the second day of school, because of course I'm given the whole spiel on the first week of school, the first day, saying here's what you need to bring every day. It's really important that you come prepared to class. You need to bring your notebook. You need to bring blah 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 blah, in a nice way, but just giving them the standards and the expectations. And so the next day we open up your notebooks and we're gonna take some notes, blah blah blah. And Jenny just comes to the front of the room. She goes, and I'm like, what? And she's like, I could not understand this girl. I'm like, honey, calm down. It's okay. Like, what happened? What happened? She goes, I forgot my notebook. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl is me. I'm like, and I'm thinking as an adult, I'm like, you forgot your notebook? Totally fine. Just let me know. And I'll give you a piece of paper. I'll give you a notebook, whatever. Or like, and it just reminded me of like, oh my gosh, our little children, our little middle schoolers, whatever grade they're in, they're just carrying all of these emotions, all of these pressures that they put on themselves or that they feel like we're putting on them, or their teachers are putting on them, and like they're just trying to carry this in their little minds and their little bodies. And I feel like I'm gonna cry right now because it's just so sad because we don't realize like how much they do carry on their minds. And so I just told this girl, I said, it's okay, honey. And of course, that just gave me another great story. And she is so great. She's all grown up now. I think she's actually a teacher. I can't remember. But I hope she's able to tell that story to all the kids that she has if she is a teacher. I think she is. But yeah, so these kids go through a lot, and yeah, we're not the only ones who carry, as moms and grown-ups, who carry all the heavy, all the things on our plates. Our kids are going through it too. So that is where I'm gonna leave you guys today. Thank you for hanging out with me. I meant for this to be about a half hour, and we're going on an hour now. So thank you for hanging out, and I will see you back here next Tuesday at 12:30 for some more Tea and Talk Live. Bye.